So, keeping on theme with keyboards with numpads, this is the brand new MonsGeek M2 V5, and it's got a few surprising features. So, let's talk about that. Let's get in this box. Jumping straight into the box, the first thing you're met with is your user guide. This is a handy guide to tell you information about the keyboard itself, such as how to connect it wirelessly, how to set up your Bluetooth, different function keys such as RGB. It is a small guide, and it definitely doesn't go over some of the key features, but overall, it's pretty useful, so make sure you set that aside. Next up, you have some additional keycaps, which these are piano themed, because if you get this keyboard pre-assembled, it's called the piano theme. And honestly, they look amazing. They're really nice, they're really thick, as well as the black and white aesthetic of the keyboard. These keycaps really match that vibe, which I kind of really like, to be honest with you. Next up is your wireless dongle. This is for your wireless uses. There is no storage on the board for this, so make sure you don't lose this, okay? Next up is your dedicated keycap puller. This is not a combination puller, it's a standalone keycap puller, which is I prefer. I think these work out better and they last longer, so always helpful to have. Next up is your dedicated switch puller. Again, not a combination puller, which I think are a bit more sturdy and easier to use, so we definitely like this. It is branded with ACO and it has a little switch on the side, which is a cool touch. Next up, you have 3 additional switches. These are the ACO Cilantro switches. They are a tactile switch, but we'll talk more about these, later in the video. Next up, you have your additional stabilizers. And that's right, additional stabilizers, because as you can see, the keyboard is assembled. But these are screw-in stabilizers, which at this price range of about $100 to $120, having additional stabilizers from clip-ins to screw-ins is really awesome to see. Really love this. I wish more keyboards came with that. And then lastly, we go over to our USB-C cable. It is a coiled cable. It looks really good. It feels really sturdy. And honestly, just bringing a coiled cable into a keyboard kit like this is a really cool thing to see. And it just really brings the pop of the aesthetic up, which is cool. Now, we've seen everything in the box. Let's take a look at the keyboard itself. Now, the MonsGeek M2 V5 is kind of a unique 98% keyboard. Now, you have your standard affair where you have your numpad, which is expected with a 98%. And you have a really good construction base where it's aluminum. And you have some cool RGB accents to where the board is nice and RGB and you have one little strip there. But overall, the aesthetic of the keyboard is great. You have a full aluminum construction. You have nice hard edges. It's really classic and clean looking. And honestly, it's just minimalist. And I love it. If we flip it over to the back, you can see that it's minimal on the back as well. You have the simple MonsGeek logo, you have the product tag in the middle, it's nice and small, it's not overly large, and that's it. You have 4 simple feet here, they are rubberized so it doesn't move around, they're not adjustable or anything like that. And then if you flip it over the top edge here, you can see our single USB-C port with our rubber grommet to help protect against scratches, and it'll help also secure your connection. Next up, let's take a look at the weight. As the keyboard is all aluminum, it is definitely a weighty boy. Coming in at 2.05 kilograms, roughly 4.5 pounds. The boy has some heft. It is a heavy keyboard. I'm definitely into it. I really like a heavy keyboard, but if you're traveling with a 98%, this might not be for you, but for desk use, it's perfect. But now that we've seen the aesthetics outside, let's go ahead and dive into the keyboard and take a look what's on the inside. And we'll start by pulling off a keycap, as always, and we'll take a closer look at it. Now, these are white on black keycaps. They have pretty clear legends. They're double shot PBT. We have color edge to edge. I don't see any chipping or warping or anything like that. They are nice and thick. They do feel really good. I don't expect these to wear really fast or the legends to have any problems. Overall, just your standard good keycap. It's not great, it's not life-changing, but it's also not bad. Just, good. Now let's move on to the switches and talk about the Cilantros. Now the Cilantros are ACO's new switch for tactile lovers. They're a 36 gram tactile switch, but they have a very early tactile bump and coming in at 58 grams of force. Now that makes it a pretty heavy tactile switch. And not gonna lie, it's not my favorite in the world. I don't like super heavy tactiles because I double press a lot by accident. But overall, it's definitely not bad. They're pre-lubed and they feel good and they provide a bunch of clack. And the good clack. Also, the stem wobble is literally minimal here. It is pretty outstandingly great. I was super surprised at the minimum amount of stem wobble, and again, super surprised at the amount of good clack it gives. Again, not bad clack, the good clack. But clack aside, let's keep diving into the keyboard, and brings us to one of my favorite features in the world, and that's rapid disassembly. By simply pressing down some keycaps and lifting up the case, you can separate it with no problems at all. No tools required, easy to get in and out of, and it's probably one of my favorite features in the world. I love being able to modify my keyboards on the fly, and the rapid assembly makes it really simple. Once you have the case off, you can see that it's nice and sturdy, as it is still a solid aluminum piece. We also can note our ball catch system here. We have our 4 connection points, as well as an RGB diffuser under here for our little RGB strip between the numpad and the alphas. But that's about it with the top of the case, so we'll set that aside and we'll focus back on getting into the keyboard. From this point, you can now lift up your PCB, and if you flip it away from you, you'll see your little connectors. You have your 2 battery connectors as well as your daughter board connection, and that's about it. From here, it's simple. If you feel like getting really into things, you can simply disconnect these cables and get into things. If you're just wanting to put some foam in or change anything inside, you can do that without actually disconnecting anything, which is a really cool touch. It's probably one of my favorite things in the world because it makes modifying on the fly so easy. And from a person that really likes to change up his keyboards a lot, this really heavily benefits me. And that might be a standalone thing, but I also think it benefits people in the future. Say you're just getting into the hobby and you really want to go down the road of having more customizable options with your keyboard. This allows you to make changes, and then if you revisit it in a year or two, it's not a guessing game to get into the keyboard. You can simply take it apart and change out whatever you want to change. You don't need to remember how to take apart anything, or how to pry open anything, or where screws were located. It makes it really simple, and honestly, I just kind of really love it. But enough gushing about it, let's get back to actual details. And as you can see here, we're gasket mounted, and we have our ball catch systems. These are located across the bottom and the top of the keyboard. This allows you a little bit more bounce in the keyboard. Again, this keyboard doesn't have a ton of bounce or a ton of flex, but it does have a little bit. We have our single RGB strip here between the numpad and the alphas that you can see on the PCB. You also have plate foam and a switch pad, as well as a bit of case foam and PET film. All in all, your standard affair for this price range of keyboards. I do love to see it, I like that it comes with it, but I think we need to continue diving in, so we'll get all the keycaps off and the switches out. That'll bring us to a bare plate, and here we can inspect some more. Starting with our stabilizers. First thing we'll note is we do have loop stabilizers, and honestly, they sound pretty good stock. I'm pretty surprised that they sound this good stock, but also not super surprised when it comes to MonsGeek and Echo. Now they also have the screw-in stabilizers, so if you're into that as well, you can go ahead and take your stock ones out so you can prepare to put your screw-ins in. But for me, I'm going to leave the clip-ins in for now, and we'll go ahead and disconnect our cables so we can actually remove our plate and our PCB from the keyboard itself. We'll set our case aside for a moment and just focus on our PCB. Now the first thing I want to do with our PCB out is go ahead and get this case foam off here, and it is adhered to the back of the PCB. It is quite sticky, so make sure you take this part slow if you're taking yours out, because you don't want to damage it and rip it. Also note that if you want to take apart the plate or any of the pads or foam in between the plate and the PCB, you'll need to take this off so you can access the screws. There are a few screws on here, they are Phillips screws, but some of them you can't access with the foam on, as the screws are kind of hidden by the foam. If they're lined up more properly, I don't think you would need to do this, but in most cases, there's definitely one hidden that you can't access without removing the foam. But now that we have our foam off and our screws unscrewed, we can now separate our plate from our PCB. Here you can see that we have a polycarbonate plate. It is flex cut. It comes in at 1.2 millimeters, and it's kind of your standard affair. Nothing crazy special, nothing really outstanding, just a normal, flex cut polycarbonate plate. Next up, you also have your plate foam or switch foam, and again, it's your standard affair. It's nice to have. And then lastly, we have our switch pad. All in all, it's nice to see that it's included. I like that it's included even if you want to take it out, so that way if you ever want to revisit, you can put it back in. But then that leaves us our PCB. Now the first thing you'll notice with our PCB out, you can actually see that we have a switch here under the left cap locks. This is for different mode changes, so if you're changing from Mac to Windows or Windows to Mac or USB, just consult your guide to figure out which setting you should be on, because everybody will be different depending on, your devices. But other than that, you can also see that we have hot swap sockets along with south facing RGB. Apologies, I have the PCB upside down here so it looks north facing, so let's flip that around. Now you can see our south facing RGB along with our screw-in holes for our screw-in stabilizers. Now I would like to note that my calipers are currently dying, so I would like to take this notice that Mikey Types pointed out that his PCB came in measuring at 1mm instead of 1.2mm. I can't currently verify that, I'm waiting for batteries right now, but I'll leave a link to his video so you can check that out. Along with a thing about the plate is that the new ACO switches didn't fit in his plate. I don't have any brand new ACO switches, so I'll leave a link to his video so you can check that out as well. I did try 5 other switches and none of them had a problem fitting in the plate. But I'm still going to link his video and I encourage you to watch it because you should be informed before you purchase the keyboard. Now that we have the keyboard all taken apart, I'll get that back together, but in the meantime, let's go ahead and go grab the JSON for setting up VIA. So we'll head to the MonsGeek website, go to downloads, find the M2 V5, right click, and then save the content. So once you do that, you'll see that it saves a JSON file. Once you have your JSON file, you can head over to usevia.app. From there, you'll go to the configuration tab, make sure the shown design tab is checked on, go to your design tab, then load in your JSON, like so. If you get a notification for pairing, go ahead and connect it. Make sure your shown definitions are the MonsGeek that you just put in there. If not, it won't work. So make sure your shown definitions match, and then we'll go back over to the main tab, and here you are ready to go ahead and change your layout however you please. So if you want to change an A to an escape key, you can do as so. If you've never used VIA before, it's very simple. Just select a key you want to change and then select a corresponding thing you want to change it to. It's pretty simple. There's multiple layers you can choose here, as well as multiple key options. There's a ton, including media, macro, layers, special, lighting, and even custom. If you're wondering about customs, it's because you can record macros, and here's your macro recorder. You have a ton of options for macros. You can import and export macros as well. If you have layouts you've designed before, you can load them in here, or you can save your current layout if you switch between a bunch of keyboards. Lastly is your lighting tab. This controls your brightness, your effect, and your speed. Remember that all of your RGB stuff can be controlled on the keyboard using function keys, so there's not a need to use VIA for that. But if you want to and you're already in here, you can change that here. Now that we have everything set up, let's go ahead and hear how it sounds. Alright, now that we heard it, I want to give you an example of why I love rapid disassembly. If there was something I just changed and I actually didn't like the sound it was producing, or maybe I took foam out and I wanted to put it back in because I liked the way it felt. Here you can simply just make your change and put it back together, and within seconds you're literally back to a functioning keyboard. You don't have to mess with screws or prying anything open, you're pretty much just ready to go. And it's simple as that. And that's why I really like rapid disassembly. But regardless, now that we've heard it, we've torn it down, and we've seen it, let's talk about it. So the first thing I like to note is the aesthetic, and it's the fact that the white on black is just a classic look. It's classic and classy. I just love it. And I love that the lean in with the piano themed keycaps. I thought that was a really cool touch. Now, aesthetics aside, let's talk about features. The fact that it's a rapid disassembly, it's a full aluminum construction, comes in at 4.5 pounds or 2 kilograms. It's super solid. Like, it's very well built. It didn't rattle. There was nothing loose. It was just solid. Along with that, you also have Windows and Mac compatibility, along with wireless, wired, and Bluetooth modes. So all in all, it's very feature rich. So yeah, huge fan. I really liked it. It feels like a keyboard where MonsGeek listened to the community and really filled a spot. Because other keyboards that are built of this construction cost twice as much as this keyboard. This keyboard starts at $100 for a bare bones kit or $120 fully assembled. So it really fills a spot. And that I love. I also love that everything was pre-lubed. I love the addition for the screw-in stabilizers, and the coiled cable was a nice touch. With all that said, I think the keyboard's a solid choice. I think it's a win. Like, there's not really anything I dislike about this keyboard. But there is things that were noticed in the community and that I would like to put here. Again, the disclaimer is I wasn't able to verify some of these myself due to my calipers being dead, and I don't have any V5 switches. Now, the first thing I was noted is the fact that the plate doesn't support ACO's V5 switches. They do support pretty much every other switch on the market, but if you're specifically looking for V5 support, the plate didn't support it. This was brought up by my key types, and I wish I could have verified this, but I just didn't have them on hand. It was noted also that the plate was really tight, but my plate was not. Every switch fit in just fine, and it was one of the easiest to get out. So I'm not sure if it was because there was a bare bones kit versus a fully assembled kit, or if MonsGeek actually figured out the problem and corrected it. The other thing that was noted was that the PCB came in measuring at 1mm instead of 1.2mm. Now again, I'll leave a link to the video because I couldn't verify it myself, unfortunately due to dead calipers, which I did order batteries, so we don't run into that problem again. I even got extras. But regardless, the reason why I bring it up is because I want it to be transparent as possible. When you're spending this kind of money, I want you to make sure that you're getting what you pay for. And I don't want anything to go under the rug to where maybe you have regrets on purchasing something or you feel like you were misinformed. So yeah, just trying to be as transparent as possible. But overall, I really enjoyed this keyboard. And if they get the plate fixed or already have the plate fixed, I think this is a huge win. Like, honestly, I really love this keyboard. It sounds good, it feels good, it performed really well, and it's really easy to mod. And if you want to see me mod this keyboard, let me know in the comments below. We can do a full breakdown and we can mod it a ton of different ways. Just let me know you want to see it and we'll make it happen. And if you're still here, I just want to say thank you for watching. If you could drop a like and hit subscribe, it would mean the world to me and it would help out the channel a ton. If you want to check out the M2 V5, there'll be a link in the description box below. And that's it. Thanks for watching. And remember, keep keyboarding.